Gaming and BS, episode 328, being recorded Monday, February 8th, 2021. Welcome to Gaming and BS, a tabletop RPG podcast. I am one of your hosts, Sean.
And I'm Brett. I'm the other guy. How you doing? Glad everybody's here.
Fred, how are you, man?
Not bad. I'm healing quite well, so that's nice. I started back at work today, easing into it, and by noon I'm like, man, I am cashed. I need a nap, which is really weird. I didn't realize how long it would take for my body to really heal. When the doctor says, well, 11, 12 weeks, then we can start lifting restrictions, like, that's for other people. No way I can't have 12 weeks. I'm like, holy fuck. Halfway through the day, I need a nap. Done. I got nothing left in the tank. So I had to check out and just crash. It's weird. And I don't like not being able to lift things. I'm not even like a big, heavy power lifter guy. I just want to be able to hang a sheet of drywall in my new basement. I want to be able to pound a nail. Can't do that. Can't do this. It's fucking annoying. Super annoying. But other than that, chronic pain, 90% gone at least. So it's worth it. Just a slow recovery. Sean, how the hell are you? You braving the cold with the pups and all that? My dogs hate the cold, but they're doing okay.
They're doing okay, actually. Mine are all right. I just had one that had 8 teeth pulled, so she's under the weather. Yeah, upstairs recovering, but the outside hasn't been too bad.
That's good.
Yeah, but getting any gaming in? Have you gamed yet since the big knife cut?
Yeah, last Tuesday I had a chance to alpha ran Dungeon of the Mad Mage, so the Undermountain campaign. We got back into that. We almost died, like a complete total party kill. We got way over our skis in another drow encounter. Like, we got this. Oh, we're doing great. One more room. How bad could this be? Motherfucker. It was bad. It was not good. Yeah, Nick lost another character. The rest of us fled. So we'll see. We'll see if we make it out alive. My buddy Lenny and I have come up with an approach that will help us kind of improve our, basically give us a reason and some other stuff that we feel we've been lacking a little bit in the game. Not due to alpha per se, it's just kind of the setup. We're like, look, at this point we are lost. Our maps are no good. We've hopped through a couple portals. We've skipped and bumped around. Like, look, this is our life now. We are Undermountain people. We will never leave this god-awful dungeon. Let's start a mercenary company. Let's just start figuring out how to live down here because we're never going to get out. Based on how we bounced around and where, I have no clue where we are right now. Not an idea. Not even an inkling of an idea of a clue. This is our life now. Let's get used to that. Let's just Stockholm Syndrome this whole goddamn dungeon and move on. So that's how we're approaching it now. How'd you do, man? Did you get any Forbidden Lands? Did that happen finally?
Did session 0.
No, how'd that go?
It went well.
He said in convincing tone.
Yeah. No, I thought it went really well. I presented what I needed to, I think, and then they came up with characters and they're loaded up and ready to go. The guys seem excited to start off, and
they didn't all suddenly have somewhere else they had to be urgently and had to drop from your game. So that's good. That's all good.
It takes more in session 0 to do. I'm expecting that maybe around 2 or 3.
Yeah, halfway through session.
Yeah, once they've kind of realize, is this really how it's going to go?
So are you grokking how it's going to go? Are the people excited about it? Like,
they are. And like I said, it's still a lot different than anything that I've ever run before. I mean, again, I could still run Raven's Purge, which I haven't decided to do, which is this fine piece of work right here. But I don't, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I have to just get into the fact that small little things are okay. Like, I don't have to have this weird plot device.
You do not have mastery. You don't have to have a huge, deep, blah, blah, blah. This is a dive into it.
Yeah.
Right? How's this going to work? And I think one of the things, you and I talked about this off the mics last time, was I think one of the beautiful things you have going into a new game like this, which is one of the reasons why I want Simba Room, which I believe is how it's properly pronounced. I want to get into Simba Room because I want to try a whole new system, different approach. And my crew, you're laughing at me. Did I say it wrong again?
No, I'm looking at nothing. AWOL's just
Right.
just let yourself be free, man.
Say what I want. God damn it.
Just be free.
Anyhow, I think it'll be. Where am I going? Oh, to run a new game like that, I have no D&D baggage, as we've talked about before. So there's no need to like Brett GM over the top of this thing. Like, hey, let's just run it. Rules as written, man. Let's see how it goes. Because that's really what I do with most brand new game systems, except for D&D, as we've previously discussed on other episodes. That for some reason that Gorilla just is what it is. But I think you might find that if you have a really good time with it, I'm watching to see how impressed you are with Forbidden Lands, because I may buy it if you really like it.
Well, and again, we mentioned this. I streamed Saturday for a little while, went over it, and it is just a different type of game, period. And there are some fiddly noodly bits that you gotta kind of understand. Where in D&D, I mean, even low fantasy gaming, I played with Hobbs on Sunday, and we, did well, and we were going into a site, and we crawled down some stairs, and we ran into some beasties and had some combat, and that's all well and good. But like the travel to get there isn't something that it's not. It's part of the game, but it's not mechanized like it is Forbidden Lands. Like it is serious, man. There are roles like you are Pathfinder and you are Scout. Give me these two roles. And
no, there's some cool things I think that go with that, because whoever's in those lead spots, whatever it is, the spotlight goes, your turn, Sean, Brett's turn, AWOL's turn, VC's turn, Eileen's turn. And that, to me, from the way you've described it, it's just going to go around the table, back and forth, if you will, and say, your turn, your turn, your turn. How did this work? What happens with your role plus yours, plus yours, plus yours? A little bit different. I like it.
Yeah. So I am excited about it. I'm very interested to see how it goes. And I think it's going to be a fun time. The reason I say that, my only reservation, and probably like letting these guys like, oh man, the more he talks about this, I don't know about this guy.
I don't want to play anymore.
Is that if I don't feel comfortable with having something in my brain when I come to the table, it throws me personally off. And I've run games where I've been off, and it sucks to me. So that's the only thing. Like the Star Wars Age of Rebellion game I had a couple weeks ago, everything was kind of fun up until a point, and then it didn't get bad. It was just, all right, I'm struggling to come up with something that I need to do and throw at these guys and make things either move along or what. So I just have to have a couple things in my pocket. So if I run into that,
you don't have the familiarity with Forbidden Lands, where in Star Wars you could say fucking a droid explodes, move on. I know what that is. If it was D&D, orcs attack, ninjas invade. What's the orcs attack for Forbidden Lands? Right? What is that?
Right.
You don't know that yet because you haven't cut your teeth in that space yet. But you've got a good crew of gamers with you, so you'll figure it out. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm just I got a Star Wars game to prepare for, and I wish Saul's Weed was like, hey man, what's up with the Star Wars game? And I'm supposed to play that every other week, and then I've got this week to play Star Wars, and I am like zero prepared, and that's another game that I have to kind of nip in the bud and see, because I'm reconsidering how I'm running that. So we'll see.
You know what, man? So speaking of, I think the last thing we can talk about here and then go random is I want to, in March, after I got a couple more weeks of just healing up or whatever, I want to get a game going. Even if it's like, look, I'm going to run a short campaign, might be 2-3 sessions every week, every other week. I'm going to pick a day, going to pick a time, throw it out to BSers and see who can get in. And then we'll just try, do something. Even if it's just like, hey, I want to try this game. I have an Avalon adventure I want to run. Let's do that. It's a standard for me. We can crank that out and have a good time, and not have it be just a one shot. When I ran for BSers last time, I think one of the cool things that you're doing, Sean, which I didn't do when I ran before my Avalon game for the BSers, and it was everyone said, "Oh, that was a lot of fun." And to a gamer, they all said, "Oh, if you want to continue this, I'd be happy to play that character again." Which was great feedback. It was like, wow, you really did like it. I did a good job. You all had fun. Awesome. That feels good. But I thought to myself, that was kind of dumb on my part to kind of box myself in saying this is only one go. Where if it is going well, build myself to a 2-3 session and say, okay, and start off there saying, look, we're going to start off here. We could go half dozen sessions. We could go 4. Don't know, but it will at least be 2. Who's in? And then we can roll with it from there. So my hope is by middle of March, I can get something rolling as long as I can stay awake for the whole thing.
If you guys aren't following Brett on Twitter or Instagram or something, you should. Maybe we'll put Brett's some of those in the links below. But he's made some major purchases for his Rime of the Frostmaiden game, which we all know he went in on with the Beetle and Grimm piece. Now he's got 2 huge dragons that are like gymongous that he's showing everybody right now. So Brett's fixing to run a $1,000 plus D&D game for his buddies. So,
well, you have to do that. Now I feel bad about my spending. But
it shouldn't feel bad about spending money on shit. Especially, I mean, hey, there's Brett. You and I at least I've used it with my wife. Like, hey, I could be at the bar every night spending,
totally.
a few $100 a week.
Susan knows that.
Yeah.
And my other thing is I live in the town where my home group is now. I don't have to drive.
Right.
I could do this every week. And she's just like, fine.
Wow. Yeah.
But I got a table. I got new gaming. I got a new gaming table, chairs, other shit that's got to go in the new game room in the basement. So, Sean, you good at hanging drywall? You want to lend a hand? little drywall hanging? Just a couple sheets. Come on.
You don't want this old guy doing that shit, man. It'll take him twice as much.
Yeah, but I can't lift anything. You have no idea how irritating that is.
You got a youngster, man. He's got to get some friends. Have him make some friends quick. And
he's 14 and weighs like a $110, soaking wet and holding a brick.
Hey, he's probably still hardier than I am.
Yeah, it's true. All right. Anyway, let's move off of this and talk. Let's talk random encounter. Let's talk something interesting besides my son's need to pull
random encounter, segment in the show where we field emails, voicemails, comments from social media.
You start, man.
The Warden comments. Todd Creper. There are typically he's on Deploying Lore.
They are. Yep.
Yeah. There are typically 2 approaches I like to use when it comes to providing setting lore. Do. Don't. but when I do, I try 2 approaches. The first is to frame the first or only adventure as a pilot episode. What are the key elements that need to come across in the story if this were picked up as a series / became a regular campaign? As I'm reading through my old Earthdawn books, I've started taking mental notes on those key elements that can be explained or at least introduced into that first adventure. Right now, they include the continent of Barsave as the home setting, a land home to both the dwarves of Thrall and the dastardly Theron Empire that's used to rule over the people with an iron fist. The horrors, evil creatures from the astral plane that invaded the world in an apocalyptic invasion of Cthulhian monstrosities. This event was known as the Scourge. To survive the Scourge, people hid in magical underground bunkers known as caves for hundreds of years until the horrors returned to the astral plane. During the Scourge, the Theron Empire was cut off from their holds in Barsave, and the dwarves exploited this to plant the seeds of rebellion against the land's oppressors. Everything else is on a need-to-know as they come up basis. You don't need to know much about windlings, scrying, trolls, or blood elves until someone wants to play one or the party meets one. So my first adventure needs to revolve around these 4 elements. Right now, I'm toying with a party of heroes hired to help find and still sealed care before the Therons do, only to find out a horror breached it years ago and now seeks fresh blood. Hero blood. Yummy. The second approach involves what I call introductions, and it's something I developed for High Plains Samurai. So Todd does High Plains Samurai.
Broken Ruler Games.
Oh,
and Todd is also in the hip pocket of the Pip system guru, right? So he's an Eloy La Santa dude, and it's actually the Warden's fault that I'm converting Avalon to Pip, but that's a different story. Carry on.
Third Eye Games. Aside from the key setting elements essential to making this setting stand out from others, nothing is written in stone until it is introduced into the story. By that I mean somebody said something at the table to address, define, or otherwise introduce it into the table's lore. It's an open-ended approach that can also default to the game master's favor if their table only allows the GM to represent the setting. For mine, I like to let everyone contribute, so long as what's introduced doesn't contradict something from before. It's now part of the lore. What results are some of those finer bits of setting you normally only find in novels based on those settings because they view the world through a group of characters' eyes, not as an encyclopedia of general facts. One table's Faerun need not be the same as another's when you get up close and personal with it. It's a concept in campaign settings I like to call the multiverse application. Each table is an alternate universe based on shared threads provided in the books of that setting. From there, each table branches off in their own direction to create a multiverse of that one setting. Think about it. Somewhere out there, someone's killed Strahd. What?
Yep.
No. Someone's brought water to Athos. Someone made Spelljammer fun. Okay, no.
No. Wow.
I draw the line right there.
Wham. Damn.
Sorry, Spelljammer lovers.
That was a blow the belt shot there. That was Warden. That was sneaky but good. Sneaky
I like
but
how
good.
you snuck that in there.
Just got it right in there. Carry on.
Each one is a version of the setting where troll horns are hollow. Elves don't like to be naked. Dwarves can't stop being naked, and dragons rule over the elemental planes in a bid to make big profits from mining on the plane of Earth. Each one provides its own lore created at the table that will never be replicated elsewhere. It's mathematically impossible just factoring in the dice rolls alone. So let's all just say, fuck it, and send Thanos to the demi-plane of dread. It's possible I got off topic here. Todd.
Todd, one of the things that you're talking about here is, Sean and I've mentioned this before, and I think it absolutely bears repeating, is the truths at the table, right? And the things that come up there, it can be just amazing. One of the things that I admire about my buddy Lenny, and I've started doing it more myself, is he will say something in character like, oh, that's what elves do. Yeah, everyone knows that. He's wrong. And someone else will look at him and they'll know the setting or know data, and they'll look at him and go, but not. He goes, my character said it. That's what he thinks. And usually the rest of us go, oh, yeah, okay, cool, let's go with it. So in my buddy Nick's Conan game, I know more about, frankly, I think I know more about the Conan world than he does, which is totally fine. So he asks me questions, I prop him up or whatever, and I will periodically say things that I know are grandiose statements. My character's this lore master kind of guy. And the rest of the group will stop, look at me, look at Nick, and Nick's like, that's what he's telling you. You can believe him or disbelieve him as you see fit. But he's the guy you know who knows the most about everything. So Zave goes, yeah, I buy it. That makes sense to me. I know for a fact I'm probably wrong about a few things. Doesn't matter, though. Because at the table right now, the group believes this is how the Emperor, the Charons failed. This is where Python and the Purple Towers, they like, oh, well, that's neat. Cool. How do we know that? Well, that's the best info we have. And probably at another gaming table, it wouldn't work that way. It absolutely wouldn't work that way. But it is a blast when you do it. And the information that's landing on the table at the time in the game is where everybody's like, that is how it works. Even if it doesn't really work that way, everyone at the table believes it's how it works until they find out otherwise. And then they all act accordingly. That's the wonderful part. When Sean's character says, hey, all dwarves eat stones. Okay, dwarves eat stones. We don't know any different. Never met a dwarf before. First dwarf we meet, we hand him some precious pebbles that we think he might want to eat. Politely sets them aside and says, I'm not hungry. He just doesn't know what to do with these weirdos. It just doesn't stop us from believing dwarves eat stones, right? Anyway, that type of crap is just fun, and I love it. That's that kind of lore building on the fly, even if it's wrong, doesn't matter because it becomes a thing of that table, and that's where all that stuff lies. So that's pretty cool. Anything else, Sean? I'm sorry, I totally ran off there.
Nope. Thanks
All
for
right.
commenting, Todd.
Absolutely, man. So Huskar comments on Deploying Lore as well. In my return to game mastering a year and a half ago, I started to develop my homebrew world I've written thousands of words. I know that it's only for me, but sometimes it is frustrating that players do not put in more effort, or really any effort, other than showing up at the table and asking for a pencil and dice. But I digress, as that's for another episode. You're damn right it is. There are things I use to introduce and reinforce lore in my games. First is a treasure item I call an Adventures Encyclopedia. It's basically 1d4 plus 1 pages describing monsters and outlining some of their strengths and weaknesses. These are usually about a paragraph or two in length, so they're easy to come up with. It allows for the creativity to hack already developed monsters and create my own. Second, rumors and information that I use to reinforce things the PCs would know and introduce new things. I usually disseminate via NPC in-game, or because I'm a much better writer than a talker in a campaign, Discord post after the gaming session or as part of some downtime. Third, because of remote gaming, I use images and journal notes in Foundry Virtual Tabletop. My landing page is a player map scene with the locations of the places the party already has been and the journal entries accessible to the players. Fourth, I came up with the idea to give my PCs dreams to introduce and reinforce lore. It is work, but writing is enjoyable for me, especially when the words flow. I'm writing them from the character's childhood and adolescence so I can include lore from their birthplace to provide some memories. These dream sequences have translated well into the campaign despite the players being players. I give them dreams after particularly grueling combats or some other trigger like fear or even the thrill of leveling up. Thank you both for your vision in building this fantastic community of like-minded gamers. I value your excellent discussion topics, insight, and knowledge. Happy gaming. Hoos! I like that approach, too. I think one of the cool things that we're hearing here from a lot of different people talking about how they do lore and some of the discussion in our forums and whatnot is there's a lot of different ways to do it, right? And as Sean and I have said for like the past 6 years, what he and I think is not the be-all and end-all of what's to be done. So I like this idea. I think you're taking some of the stuff we talked about, Sean, if I recall the conversation, like, hey, using NPCs or guides and stuff to do that. And I think Huskarl's find a way here to utilize the fact that he's written all this lore and then dribble those facts, those little lore factoids out there into his game so that the cool stuff he's creating doesn't get lost, missed, or never really appreciated by anyone other than him. Not only just for the selfish feeling that it's really cool when somebody likes your shit, but also because it helps keep the players in the zone, if you will. So I like what he's got there. I think it's pretty smart. What do you think about it, Sean? You like it?
Yes.
It's good stuff.
I got to write all this shit down before my next Forbidden Lands game.
Exactly. I'll tell you, man, if we could take, I don't think we could ever pay everybody enough, but to like, all the really better advice you folks have come up with and put that in a book.
This is my retirement fund, man. I'm just gathering all this shit, and then I'm just going to publish it and take credit for everything and sail off into the sunset.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd be good with that.
Sell 1 million copies.
Exactly. All right, your turn.
Jim Fitzpatrick writes in about episode 326, Not So Supers. Hey guys, haven't bugged you in a while, but something stood out about the past couple episodes I'd love to get your opinion on. Whoa. 2 things brought it up. First was DM Kyle's call about not knowing all the lore in a setting, and the second was the Not So Supers episode about genre and systems we don't play or don't want to play. What I'd like to hear is your take on being a tourist. What I mean when I say that is, do you do anything special if you know you're going to play a system or a genre you don't usually play or even have that much exposure to? How do you play a space opera game if you've never seen a space opera show?
Good question.
How do you play a supers game if you've never read a comic book or seen an MCU movie? Senna and Phil were nice enough to talk about this on Pandas when I asked, but I would love to hear the BS side. A few game holes ago, I got a chance to play a supers game with Matt Forbeck, but I'm not a big consumer of supers media and don't really know much about the tropes. I didn't know the system either and don't remember what it was. I still had fun because Matt is great, but I might not have had fun if it had been with a random game master. Brett, glad you're on the mend. Neck and back pain is not to be effed with. Had enough cortisone shots in my day to know that. Hope you're back in the saddle soon. Enjoying the show as always, Jim.
That's a damn good question, Sean. That's a show topic right there, brother. I think I'll have to tack that one in there. I like that.
If I had to put my finger on the game that Mr. Forbeck ran, I would have guessed it would be Brave New World. Because I believe Matt wrote that adaptation of the RPG, but I could be wrong. So, I don't know if that rings a bell, Jim. But anyways, that is a very interesting. I have not been in. So reading. We kind of touched on a little bit of this because we talk about how do you get incentive for running specific games, like, or if you're trying to envision something in your brain as a game master to convey to your players, and you're running a Star Wars game, then and it's an imperial. An imperial establishment.
Look. Establishment.
Yeah. Gray slate. Everything's like sterile.
Jim's approach here is like from the player perspective. You sit down like, look, I want to cut my teeth. I want to try a steampunk game. I want to try a supers game. I don't want to run it. I want to play one at a con. Great opportunity. Brett and Sean said so. Other people said so. Fuck it. Yeah, we're going to sit down. Forbeck's going to run. Is there an approach we should take as a player to tourist your way in there appropriately and not stand out like somebody, should you take the most important character there? How do you even know what the most important character there is? Is there a support character? Is there such a thing as, all of those types of questions? I think all that comes out. And instead of saying, yeah, I don't know anything about this, except that I heard Matt Forbeck's a good game master, so I want to play. That you could set the whole table like, oh Christ, it's one of those. You can hear the mumbling, right? So it's a damn good question, Jim, and I think Sean and you and I will address that. We're gonna have to talk about it. You good?
Yes.
Okay. I'm thinking not. Next up, we've got a different one to cover, but it'll probably be in 2 episodes from now.
2 episodes.
2 episodes from now.
All right, let's get into the main topic. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. That's good stuff. And great to hear from you, man.
Yeah. Let's get into the main topic. All right. Main topic, Brett. What are we talking about this week, Brett? Hot burn, slow start, hot burn, burning hot.
Yeah, all that. Yeah.
Sizzle.
So I've heard these phrases like the hot start. I heard that a lot in the slow burn campaign, and I think they get thrown out a bunch. Depending who you're talking to, some people don't give 2 shits about this type of thing. It's not really something to talk about.
Slow burn or hot start.
However, I've been thinking about this because Sean's starting Forbidden Lands. I want to do something with the BSers again. I want to get my groove going there. And then I think about like con games tend to be what? How do I approach them and so on? So each of these approaches has pluses and minuses, and there's variations, different degrees of either one. But I think when I think about the slow burn is kind of everyone makes their first level characters using level type of system, and you meet in an inn. The blacksmith busts in and says, kobolds stole my child, go rescue them. And it's a slow, get into the action, figure out everything, work your way up, find who the major players are, so on and so forth. Just kind of a get to know things, just kind of ease your way into it. It's not, there's action, there's things to do, but the overall plot and the major, really cool drama components, those are coming. That's down the road. That's book 2, right? This is the intro book. Is that how you, when you hear slow burn campaign, is that what you're thinking, Sean, as well?
Yes.
Okay. So the hot start, I think, in media res, or however the hell you want to pronounce it, in the middle of the action, where you have okay, everyone roll initiative. What? Everyone roll initiative. Get your characters. Let's go. Oh, what's going on? Where are we? Okay, there's 5 orcs. There's 16, laser knights, whatever's going on. 16 orcs and 17 laser knights all at once. They're fighting you. What do you do? Minis are on the table. Action's happening. Sometimes it's that dramatic, and sometimes it's like you've just escaped from the laser knights. You're at the end of the corridor. You've barricaded the door. You can hear them working their way through the door. What do you do what are you going to do? That's another form of hot start type of thing. It's, tension, action, shit's going on right now. Lots of different ways to do that, but that hot start is in the middle of something kind of big happening already. You've cut through some of the earlier stuff, right? I've heard Matt Colville talked about this one time where he started a campaign in the basically at the start of the second level of the dungeon. They had just enough time to escape a horde of lizard men, shut the door, go down the stairs, shut the next door. Second level of dungeons where you started. Holy cow. What was that? So is that, when you hear hot start, Sean, do you think the same thing? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. Other than just, a hot start could be, you're put in a cauldron by a few witches and you're starting to feel.
That's another way you've been captured.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some old school D&D modules start like that. You're captured. You're in prison. What? Yes, you're running for your life. We talked about that when we talked about Prison Break episode, right? Where you could say, okay, you've just escaped. What do you do now? What? So I have no gear. You have no gear. Here's loincloths and t-shirts. That's all you got. What do you do? So, Sean, there's benefits. I see ups and downs for both, but do you have a preference? Let's talk about a preferences kind of first here. If you're going to run a campaign, do you think, well, you like this? Do you have a tendency towards the slow burn, or do you like to get a little more action, some variation of a hot start?
I tend to go with the slow burn.
Nice.
But I really like the hot start if I have a choice.
So let me ask you this then.
Yes, sir.
So if it's a convention game, which do you do? Which do you do?
It depends.
There it is. Bingo boards. Mark them down, ladies and gentlemen.
It depends on what I'm running, man. If it's I've run the Gatsby and the Great Race. That's a slower burn. However, it gets into crazy shit quick. There was Savage Worlds. Forget about it. That is slow burn. And I think with some con games, it doesn't always have to be. Many start out with an explanation of what's going on. Like, okay, here's the deal. I got to set everything. Like, who's played, who hasn't played. There's a huge upfront presentation to make. That doesn't mean that the adventure, scenario, situation, whatever, has to start slow burn necessarily, because I think a lot of people like to just, all right, here's the deal. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, and by the way, now you're in a room and there's roll for initiative. Like, a con game's pretty awesome when the first thing works out of the game master is roll for initiative.
I have a tendency myself to do slow burn or an abbreviated, like a medium burn. So when I've run Avalon at convention games, what I do is they pick their characters, like, okay, you know each other, who's who. Good. Okay. Great. So Jim, when he was playing Toad, Jim Fitzpatrick, harkening back to him. So when he was playing Toad in one of my games, what are you doing? What do you do this morning? I get up, we're going to have breakfast. Okay, cool. Great. That's what you're doing. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Start innocuously slow. And then something crazy ass happens and they all get engaged in a problem. And then they got to go solve it. But I have a tendency to start off with that. Like, what's going on? What's your day to day? What are you doing? What are you going to be about today? So that way, whatever I hit you with to interrupt your day, right, is noteworthy. Oh, you're going about this thing. And then everyone just happens to show up at the inn, or there's a noise across the street. You hear it, they hear it. Everyone comes to investigate because it's a con game, good players. Jim and the rest of the crew are not going to fuck about. They're going to show up and play, right? I think Eileen was actually in that one, too. It was pretty cool. Anyway, point is I find, for whatever reason, that's my go-to. I have a hard time, and I don't think I have ever honestly done a real hot start, ever.
Like the hottest of hot starts.
Yeah, like roll for initiative. I've never done that.
It's been kind of warm.
Warm, yeah.
At best.
At best. I don't go like microwave and then it comes out hot pocket burning, like scald your mouth.
Hot pocket.
Haven't done that, but I have done the Connor and his buddy, my oldest son, when he was home visiting last time when when the Air Force actually let him have leave. He's home. He wanted to game with his buddy and AJ. So I'm like, okay, they made some characters. They came back. He said, okay, you guys are in prison, and this is what's going on. And they got a preamble out of me, but that wasn't like roll for initiative. I have not done that, and there's a piece of me. I was like, man, why am I afraid of it? Is there a reason why I'm not doing it? Because the benefits for me in a slower burn or an easier start is Brett more, probably. The players are probably a hell lot more malleable. Like, hey, let's go. They're more malleable than me this way. But I'm like, okay, let's just ease into this. We get to know each other a little bit, and let's go. Because through that little preamble-y dialogue, like, what do you do this morning, Toad? What do you do over there? Eileen, what's your character's name again? Oh, yes. What is she doing? What's he doing? What are they doing? Great. They're going to do this. She's doing that. He's doing that. And now, it just gives us this chance to talk through things. And I think people appreciate it, but it can't last too long. And it makes me wonder, especially for con games, going with that hot start, like roll for initiative, how fun would that be? Because fuck it, it's a con game, right? Ride that character like you stole it. If he dies, he dies. Just move on.
Brett, I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm going to challenge you to, in the next 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
Or
New
sessions.
Games?
Or
sessions? Like of the existing campaign?
Whatever. That you do a hot start, like smoking hot start. And I think this isn't a good example, because I think sometimes when you talk about a hot start versus a slow burn, you mentioned this, it's the lead up, right? So you're got to get everybody in the tavern. This is how you know everybody. The barkeep comes over, asks you what you want to drink, and then, there's a note that's dropped off at your table, and you read it.
But you're saying inject in your current campaign. So next time I get together with my crew here, and I'm running my Axis Mundi game, I can say, okay, what happened last time? Let's go over that. Good note. Okay, roll for initiative. What? I can do it right in the middle of the campaign, right? I can just drop that on. You can do it.
So this
okay,
is
I like it.
Yes. So
I like it. I'm
gonna kind of help you out trying to get there, because I think that's many of us, I would say a majority of us, tend to go that route. However, think of like the Matrix, man, right? The beginning of the Matrix. Because none of it's like, nobody knows what the hell is going on. It's like you're watching a woman get arrested in a dark room.
Yeah.
With cops with flashlights. And then all of a sudden she starts climbing walls, and you're like...
I don't know if I've ever told you this. A total segue. I knew nothing about that movie.
Neither did I.
I literally didn't see a trailer.
Nope.
Nothing. I went into that movie theater
like,
stone fucking cold.
Right.
And that movie had such a massive impact on me at the time.
Yes.
Because I knew nothing about it. It's like I didn't actively try to avoid media. Like, because there's fucking trailers and people are talking like, whatever. I'm busy going to school, doing my thing. Wham! I talk about a big pie in the face of what the fuck is going on. Right. That was crazy. Right. That was absolutely batshit crazy. Yeah. Right. Because I'd never seen it before. I had no clue what the hell I was walking into.
Yeah, man. Flying across the frickin' buildings, man. Whew.
Is this fantasy? What is this?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but if you take, so that just happens. It's like a very small thing that doesn't play. I mean, it plays a role in the viewer, but it doesn't play a role in the world necessarily. Like, nobody needs to know. Nobody knew she did that, or except for maybe, the crew, right?
Yeah.
So my point is that if you take and you want to inject something like that into your current campaign, the players will be going to be like, what? So you're in a different room, it's dark, blah, blah, blah. There's this guy who's going to punch you in the face. And that could be a flashback or a foreshadow or whatever. And then maybe they get out of it, they kill the guy, whatever the case is. And then you fast forward and get him back almost to exactly where you were going to leave off and run the game anyway. And then you bring in that bad guy down the road somewhere or whatever. But I mean... Or there are clues and things and blah, 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 and story that they have to follow. And then eventually they're going to confront big, bad, evil guy, whatever.
Yeah.
Just get him to the big, bad. I had a big, bad, evil guy once.
Yeah, have the big, bad, evil guy. So we've talked about this a little bit, and Colville said it, and we've said it here, like, don't have to hold the big bad person off to the end. She could show up now. They could absolutely pop up today. Players can't defeat them, but I think it would be cool to do that type of thing, like have the bad person show up, and they're untouchable. The PCs do everything they can. They ignore you. They don't kill you because you're beneath them or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things to be done there.
It doesn't have to be undefeatable unless, of course, right.
That's an angle. Angle.
Yes.
You're right. There's many angles to it. I like what you're saying.
I mean, it could just be like, where did they leave off and where were they going? And you could just speed up the timeline, or you could just, okay, we're going to go there. And instead of just asking what they're going to do, I think that's the key, right? All right, guys, we left off here. Now what are you guys going to do? And they go, well, we're going to go and check out this place. And you go, okay, you get there, blah, blah, blah. If you knew, you could just, even if they are going there in the street, roll for initiative, 4 guys surround you, let's go. And they're all staring at you.
Yeah, what are you going to do now?
What are you going to do? And they're holding knives, swords, whatever, guns, and they're pointing at you and they want, it could be kind of cheesy and maybe heavy-handed if it was just a mugging. That's, hey, give me your freaking money, man.
Yeah.
I got to hand it to Running Scared. Running Scared. Have you ever seen that movie, Brett?
It's been forever.
Gregory Hines, Billy Crystal, buddy cop movie, awesome. The guy's aunt dies. They go to the funeral, and then they're walking back to their car, and the guy just pulls around the corner. Guy just walks around the corner, sticks a gun in their face with a paper bag around it, and he's like, give me your money, man. And they're like, what? You're mugging us? They're like, give me your fucking money. And they're like, all right, we'll give you my wallet and everything, but we just need to keep these badges. And it's like, that scene has nothing to do with the entire movie, but they're just walking back from a funeral and a guy's starting to mug 2 cops.
Like, what the fuck?
And he runs away and they're going to chase him. And yeah, that's hilarious.
I think one of the pieces that a hot start, or even if it's a hot restart, right, or a hot piece of action in the middle of the campaign, right? Okay, that was good. That was a good session. You guys did a lot of researching and so forth in your Cthulhu game. You found a lot of cool stuff. You're back at the mansion. Okay, what are we going to do? Yeah, all right, well, we're going to sleep on it. Good. That's where we'll leave next session. You wake up and you smell smoke. What? The building is on fire. Holy what? Because the cultists tracked you back. They lit the building on fire while you slept. That type of, so I love this idea here, because instead of thinking hot start, think, hot start not to campaign only, but think hot start to the session.
Right, yes.
Within the campaign.
Right.
So I love that. I never even thought about that, dude. That's smart. Because the slow burn, I think, is classic. Classic.
It is a more traditional approach, yeah.
Very tropey. You start out slow, work your way, and then things get crazy. And you can get in a rut with an investigative game like Trail of Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu, and some of those where you look. All right, we go back, we come back, we look. Oh, shit, we got in a fight with some gangsters or cultists. Whoo, figure that out. We look. Oh, whoa, another fight. Starting off with the building is on fire because the cultists followed you back. I actually have done, thinking about that, I was thinking hot start campaign. But if I think hot start session-wise, I have, when I used to run Vampire back in the day, we'd start a session, and somebody didn't have much happen to him last time. So my buddy Shannon. I love Game of Shannon because I could beat the crap out of his character, and he loved it. So
thanks, Shannon.
People would be like, hey, what happened? This, that. Okay, this going on. Shannon's like, well, I'm going to do this. Well, the first thing you got to do is probably get the wooden stake out of your chest. He's like, what? It's broad daylight, and there's a guy standing on your chest, and he apparently just drove a big piece of timber right into your left aorta. I'm paralyzed? Yeah. Well, what's he doing? He's not killing you. He's just standing over you, laughing at you. Fuck. What? Holy shit. The rest of the table just stops. This is a time when I'm gaming with like 13 players. Everyone stops. What the hell is going on over there? But like Shannon had nothing happen last session, and now he's the center of attention. It was a hot piece of action. Just wham right there. It was a conversation. The bad guy dropped some lore on him, basically teased him, threatened him, and then things happen, right? I have done that, but not on a whole group scale. I've done individual, and the way I used to run Vampire is very LARPy in a way. And I think I've talked about that before. So that worked because you're split up across the city. I could do fuck with you in that way. I could mess with you over here. I could do this over there.
Throw everything at all of them all at once in separate encounters, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
totally do that.
That's what is that? That's like a bad organized crime movie, like Lethal Weapon, man. The South Africans come after,
everybody's on fire, everybody's being shot, everything's
Riggs
happening.
And Murtaugh, man, and everybody they're coming after all of them at the same time, and Riggs can be on the beach and Murtaugh's in his house, and they're coming after them all at the one single night. Bam.
That one night of house cleaning. Yeah. And I think the fear of doing it at a campaign level is I want to make sure everybody's comfortable, happy, we kind of all are in a groove, and then shock your system later. And I honestly think most of the people I play with, the BSers I've gamed with, everyone I've met at a con they've gamed with, they can hack it. It's more of a Brett hang up, I think, than it is a player's hang up. Because I've yet to play with anybody who sat down and said, "Oh, I don't know. Well, that's a hot start. I'm kind of scared about that." Right. No one's ever said, "I'll play with you," but session 0.
This shit's messed up, man.
I just want to let you know in session 0 right now, I don't like a hot start. That just scares me too much. Right. I've never heard that. Now, granted, somebody might say I don't enjoy them as much, or I want to make sure that if we do have a hot start, I do have time to develop my character in personality and stuff afterwards. I think that's been part of the slow burn for me over the years is when I was gaming with my home group or different people, they wanted to understand their character's personality traits. They wanted to react a certain way. How does Sean's druid act? Does he see Jiminy Jillikers? What does he do when something happens, right? I want to have those moments. And when you thrust the action on them, I'm like, well, I didn't get to develop that. Well, you kind of can right now, right? If Sean's druid in the middle of it goes, I run. What? You bastard. Does he always run away? He always runs away. It's which goes to the earlier lore piece, right? That we talked about from the Warden stuff. Is that if Sean's like, fuck this, I run. This is dumb. You people, we're getting killed. Let's run. Then that becomes a defining moment of your druid. It could change later on, as all personality traits of your characters can, but that becomes this piece that you could work with. So I honestly think the hang up of starting a campaign with a hot in the middle of the action one way, shape, or form is a Brett hang up and not my players. I seriously think they could handle it.
Yeah.
If I did it at a con, people are like, oh, fucking awesome. We started right off, fucking rolled initiative. Brett killed 5 PCs and handed out more characters. That's fucking awesome.
It was metal.
Exactly. No one would care. Now, I think the upside, of course, I shouldn't say of course, but an upside is I see it for a slower burn is if you're planning to run a longer campaign. Like Call of Cthulhu, my buddy's running Friday, actually. This coming Friday, second session of it is the Horror on the Orient Express. It's a big goddamn. He's got everything for it. This is Lenny, dude. He's the prop master, so there's shit handing out.
No joke. That thing's like 500 bones.
Yeah, we've got like newspaper clippings. We're getting clues and shit dropped on us. Like, what do we do with this? I don't know. We're all gonna die. But we had the first session, which was a lot of who are you? Meet this person, meet that person. But there's this weight that campaign has that says, don't do that. Don't do crazy hot start for this campaign, right? And I think not all campaigns are created equal insofar as the best way, so to say, to get the best bang for buck out of those environments. Now, with Rime of the Frost Maiden, I've been reading it a lot lately because I've been healing up and can't do much. Finding out what minis to buy and reading and busting through the adventure. And there are plenty of opportunities for both styles. You're walking to the town of, Dugan's Hole, roll for initiative Y, 2 Yetis jump the party. Gets the fucking blizzard, Yetis hunting the blizzard, 1 Yeti. This happens. Orcs attack. It absolutely could start that way. Or you see a fight happening, there's somebody in a dog sled trying to fend off and awaken something. There's so many options for the hot start and the slow burn. That campaign, as I'm reading it, I don't think would suffer for either type of beginning at all. It would absolutely function both ways. I think Horror on the Orient Express, I've not read it, but from what I'm understanding from Lenny and how he's setting it up, and he's a pretty sharp dude, I think a hot start on that might be rougher because it's a little more traditional Call of Cthulhu. I think it benefits from the traditional slower burn start. Sean, is there any I know you haven't done it yet, but what do you think for Forbidden Lands? Do you think that would have new campaign, new game? We talked a little bit how it matters per game, right? So if you're running forget about it, you kind of can jump into something.
Sure.
Because this is so new for you, would you prefer to start a campaign with a new rule system as a slow burn, or would you prefer to start it hotter than that? I know my answer, but I'm wondering what you're thinking.
It doesn't matter to me.
Really? Okay.
I mean, like I said, I have a habit of doing slow, but with Forbidden Lands, Forbidden Lands, I got to get kind of my head wrapped around what that looks like. It's
so to do that.
It's not a Night's Black Agent game, right?
Can you get your head wrapped around that? Do you want to do a slow burn start to give you time for you and players to get heads wrapped around it, or just say fuck it, we'll just go in and light it on fire and see what we sort out from the ashes?
Well, it also depends on what they're doing and what the results are. Like if you go into a hex and you legit make your rolls, you're going to see something that's coming. I don't have a problem putting it in front of them. It just depends on whether they see it coming or not. And then in that case, it's probably a warmer start because you're putting them in action versus like, okay, check this, what this is. I mean, so I think that it can be a hotter start in Forbidden Lands. I don't have a problem withholding that, or hey, they need to learn more. We need to get adapted to the system a little bit. But that's not a factor in whether I do it or not. It just depends on the first session would be ideal because they're like, some of these guys are in the chat room, so they're like, So but I mean, I could put them in a hex and go, all right, here's the deal, man. Give me some of these rolls, scout rolls. Okay, great. Now you see this thing out there and you failed your roll, so now it's on top of you. Oh, you made your roll, so now you see it kind of stalking through the weeds or whatever.
So that's cool. I think where my head goes is I normally would think, I want to go slower, man. I really want to milk this, blah, blah, blah. However, based on our conversation here, the reason I'm doing that is so that we've talked about this a little bit before in other sessions. Like, okay, I want to make sure in the first session we have like a social interaction check and a this check and eventually get to combat. Well, fuck it. I can just go right to combat. Right?
Yeah,
because,
sure. Yep.
Because brand new game, Sambarum, brand new game. I sit down with it. Nobody's run a combat yet until I run it for them.
Right. That's true.
Including me. So what the fuck are you waiting for? Let's start a fight right now. Well, but we don't know anything. It doesn't matter. All you know is this gang has daggers and they're going to kill you. Are you gonna talk them to death? You want to try a social interaction skill, or do you want to fucking fight?
These guys aren't here to talk, man.
They're not here to talk. How do I know that? Because they already killed the first guy who was in front of you. What? Oh my god.
They're done chewing bubble gum.
Yeah, they're all out of bubble gum, and all they can do now is kick ass.
That's right.
But I think when we're talking about this here, there's some definite power to that. Like, get right to the action, because if nothing else, in a brand new system, a new combat system, oh my god, how's this going to function or whatever, waiting to get to it is like, for most gamers, like, oh, there it is. There's the thing. Right. I know it's coming. It's like, I know what I'm getting you for Christmas, Sean. I'm going to get you this. I'm going to show it to you. This is your Christmas present right here. Isn't it lovely? I'm going to put it over here. You just need to wait 5 days to get it. And at a certain point, like, what the fuck? Just give it to dude. Come on. What are you dicking around for? Just give it to me.
Well, that's the funny thing, right? We're playing adventure games, and the adventure part might be,
and we're dragging it out.
Like,
why am I waiting to get to the actual adventure?
Man, give me
and credit. And if fighting isn't the focus of the game, like Call of Cthulhu, it's like meet the NPCs, deal with the cult, find out something. So to Lenny, the way Lenny's doing kind of slower burn with the Orient Express game, we're finding stuff out pretty rapidly. Bam, 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 bam. Now, we haven't fought cultists yet, but we're spying weirdness. We're seeing strange people. We're seeing stuff happen. which is right in the middle. That's the juicy beasts of Cthulhu, right? Ooh, I don't know what's going on. I want to find out, which is where you get him way the fuck over your head, die, or go crazy, or both. Point being, though, is that in a game, a traditional game like a D&D something or other, fucking just start a fight right away. What's the first time I've ever run a fight? It's not getting any more or any less first time if you do it now or you do it in 2 hours in the game. It doesn't matter. The first fight's the first fight. The first skill check roll, the first actual implementation of the rule set is still the first, whether you do it at the beginning of the session or halfway through or at the very end. It doesn't fucking matter. So I think I'm talking myself in a little hotter start action, man. I think it, if nothing else for my group, it'll be my home group. It'll be a good shocker shakeup for them. Because, this is a Brett game. It goes like this. And then if it come in, this is a Brett game. It goes like, oh, fuck, it's on fire.
Shake it up, Brett.
Yeah.
Shake it
good.
up.
I like it. Might as well.
Shake it up. 2021, Brett shakes it up.
Brett shakes it up. I don't have the nerve pain I used to. So now I've got no excuses.
Brett
right?
and his new man bone.
Exactly. I got a dead man's bone stapled to my skin. What can't I do?
That's right, man.
Cool, man. Anything else on this one? Are we good?
No.
All right, fuck it. Let's move on.
All
Die
right,
roll it.
get in a die roll. 2 to 4 miscellaneous points of gaming and geekery want to bring you.
What you got?
First one, Dragonlance novels.
3 of them.
3 originals. Like original.
Classic,
yes. Weiss and Hickman, not some.
Yeah.
They're not
so
editing it.
Are they going to be poorly written, just like the first 3?
Have they?
Classically poorly written.
I mean, I know Tracy's written novels.
They both have. I mean, everybody gets better, and what you had back, and also, anyway. Point is, joke. But, are you interested?
I don't know. I might pick them up just for the hell of it and see. It might take me back.
Yeah, Joe Swick and I were chatting about this the other day, and I'm like, fuck, I don't care. I kind of care. I kind of care. I don't know why. I think it's could you grab my Dragonlance nostalgia any harder than that? Really? I mean, honestly, I don't know. And also, I got this pile of Dragonlance adventures that Sean gifted me, so I'm like,
I think I was mad I didn't have all of them. That's kind of sucked.
That's okay, but I'm interested. I don't know. Probably shouldn't be, but I am. God damn it. What else we got?
Nightfall Games announces Terminator RPG.
With the whole the Terminator IP and all that stuff?
And I guess. I don't know.
That doesn't interest me.
Me neither.
Interesting. Well, I mean, why not give it another run? Alien had a different RPG ages back, too. Back in the 80s, 90s it did. So interesting that came back
but there's something about the Alien franchise where I think with RPGs and Mothership and some other stuff. It's
got some deep, impactful type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think Terminator's got it. It's just me. Whatever that is, the thing that made it gameable, I don't know.
It was a big chase.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, what else we got?
Third one, Let's Roll Virtual Tabletop Kickstarter.
Another virtual tabletop. God damn, this stuff's coming out of the woodwork, brother.
I know. Great for us, man. It's competition.
It is. I want best of breed, right? I need more than 2 breeds to choose from. Give me more, right?
It ends 25 days from this recording, which I thought was March 6th-ish, if my math is correct.
So they had a $9,627 goal, and they've got $128,238. It's funded in 17 minutes.
Well, it was originally in euros because I think it's a French org.
Well, yeah. Regardless, though, it gets that's the translate. That's why the weird dollar amount, 9,627, right?
Right.
But the son bitch was funded in 17 minutes.
Their video is pretty impressive, I gotta say. I talked about this on Saturday a little bit, but what it comes down to in a nutshell is you take all the virtual tabletops. They all got to do maybe a little bit more than a handful of things, right? They got to display maps, maybe display some tokens, got to have some rule integrations.
Interactive character sheets.
Character sheets are probably 101. And then the rest is probably cherries on top, and it's how it's done.
It's the UI. It's the user interface, right? Which one do you like? Which one do I like? Which one do my players and I like together?
Right. And how much work do I have to do? There's some guys. Yeah. There's some guys that are like, there's the other role.
Dude, I work in an IT group, right? And I know back in the old days, you remember Burby back when that was a company. Mm-hmm. We had a guy, second floor dude, which is where all the brainiacs worked. He got upset because his home created Linux kernel he didn't like the print drivers he could find, so he built his own on a Sunday while watching a Packer game because he was bored. That was fun for him. I knew another guy who built, Oracle clusters in his closet because he wanted to see how the database would perform. Some people love that shit. Right. And other people are like, how come the box pointy don't do the thing? There's all the variations to, I want to be able to change my own oil, rotate my tires, do all this stuff, change points, do that, all the way to I want a button that says go car go, right? And everything in between. And I think having more options, as we started off this with, is better because you're going to find your groove somewhere there. Yeah, love it.
And then lastly, exodus of some major D&D Beyond staff. So we'll see what happens with those. One of them was Adam, and I think he was one of the principals that sold D&D Beyond to Fandom. So, there's some, five key members of that staff just left. Three of them all in one day. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Not a big deal, maybe, but having been in the job movement space, always makes me wonder. Rumor is that they got an offer that they couldn't refuse per Cam Banks. Yep. So we'll see what that looks like.
When you have a really good team, I changed jobs, 3 years ago, and I reached out to people within my org that actually work for me now that wanted to work for me. Called them and said, hey, I got a spot there. All right, cool, done. And they bailed and came to work for me. I'm very fortunate that way. And a similar thing could easily happen here because it happens, right? So
the key is to look at their LinkedIn profiles.
Yes. But Darcy was working for Monica Games for a long time, having a great time, loved it, and she got scooped up.
Yeah, that one surprised me too. I was not expecting to see that.
If the opportunity is right, it's a better / different. You don't know. I don't know what's up with that crew.
Well, I'm curious with Darcy specifically. So for folks that aren't in the know, Darcy Ross, who Brett and I have both met, and
she's awesome.
Very awesome person. Was working for Monty Cook Games, right? It's kind of an idea. Mm-hmm. She was a researcher at one point, and then she got up to be their community manager and played in a bunch of stuff and partaked in, a lot of their games. And then now she's working for the Critical Role company, apparently, is the...
Yeah, and when she left, Monty and Shauna and everyone, there was like, she's awesome. This is a loss for us, but awesome for her. So you don't know how or why, and some of it could be money, in which case, for God's sakes, Darcy, don't tell me, none of my goddamn business. If it's just a bit, whatever you tell me, I'll believe you, but I hope it's turning out, right? You just hope it's a good opportunity. And these folks from D&D Beyond could be in the same boat.
I just get into recruiter mode and go, why did you take that job, or what led you to that company? But that was part of my shtick, man. I would ask, what led you to that company? Were you looking, or did you get... Because the reason somebody goes to a company tells a lot about their situation at the time. And if they say, well, I was looking, then they aren't happy. They weren't happy where they were, and why.
And sometimes they're like, I wasn't looking, but it hit me upside the head.
And that's true. I wasn't looking, and but they came to me. So who came to you? Was it your former boss or some wacky recruiter?
We know Darcy. We don't know Darcy that well. I don't think. I'm not asking her that. That's not my guy.
I would ask her hey, I'm just curious how you ended up there, which
is why Darcy likes me better than you.
That's fair.
Just so you know,
that's
why.
Well, and she doesn't have to answer necessarily. She can tell me it's none of your goddamn business, and that's okay.
Well, what I think is funny in that weird little "we all love a doom" story, right? Is oh my god, I have seen the thing. D&D Beyond is crumbling. They're gonna die. They're gonna fuck everything over. Oh Jesus Christ! I just bought this thing. Oh my god! Burger and light it on fire. For fuck's sake.
Brett and I both know nobody's irreplaceable.
No, they're not.
Nobody's
No, they're
irreplaceable.
not. No. Nope.
But it's an interesting, it's just an interesting dynamic where, James Heck, I think, left a week ago, and then three people decided to announce it all in the same day.
It looked like James Intercasso hooked up with, MCDM.
Yeah, but I don't know what he was doing prior. I don't know if he had a full...
It doesn't matter. It's like, we could do that. I would not be shocked if in 2 years, after a certain point, James says, you know what? I found a better gig. I'm leaving.
Yeah, but what's a better gig?
So this is interesting in that what's better for you, whatever, but in a creative space, which RPGs are, it's a niche within a niche. Some of these companies are very small, and D&D in the grand scheme of things is pretty fucking small.
Sure.
Hasbro's big, but WotC is small. D&D is even small. Right?
Right.
It's a small thing. I will top out at a certain point in a multi-billion-dollar global company that I work at. That if I really desperately want a promotion to a different higher job, I may have to leave the company.
Not only leave the company, you may have to leave the city, Brett.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I might have to be like, I'm sorry, I got to move to Colorado. I need to move to Des Moines. I need to move to France. Who knows, right? That happens. And I think in some of these spaces, the reason I picked on MCDM is like, so James goes there, has a good time. He goes, hey, I'd really like to do this. And Matt's like, there's no job progression in some of these jobs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
So we're going to bore the fuck.
We're
going to bore the fuck out of people. So let's stop talking here. We're done. Nobody gives two shits about corporate. We're done. We're done.
So the reason we shared this information this evening is because I want to wish Brett the best of luck as he goes on
son of a bitch.
As he goes on.
filled in once. He filled in once for me. It is not fair.
Brett and I had a conversation last week, and he said that he got a better opportunity. He's going to be joining.
He's part of an outplacement. We're not renewing his option. You dick.
No, I figured you got a better opportunity, man. Bigger money. Yeah. Brett's gonna go and become the podcast for the meat guy. What's his name? Meat eater.
Meat eater? Oh God. If Steven Ranella hired me to do that, I would bail on you.
There it is, right there, ladies and gentlemen.
If Ranella's like, "Hey, man, I need you to drop that gaming thing," and you're gonna
be his Vortex Optics hat, man. Don't know, and I don't know. I know the deal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That would do it. That would totally. Love you. Bye.
See.
Anyway, let's close this up, man,
all right.
Before we go too crazy.
All right. What are we talking about next week, Brad?
Next week, we're going to dig into that comment one of our viewers got us. I think it was Matt. Talking about pre-made to homebrew and back, kind of the back and forth, because he was talking about how seeing some of the pre-made adventures he's running and how he wants to kind of move into homebrew and to solve some of the quote-unquote problems or things he'd like to change and do different. So we're going to talk about that next session. Look at me talking gaming. Next session. Next session. Yeah. Hot start. Well, you know what? We'll go right to it. We won't even fucking do anything else. We just go right main topic next episode. Boom. Right in there. All right, let's get out of here.
All right. So, hey, Monday nights, 8 o'clock Central Time. Stream here on Twitch. See this on YouTube. Give us a like. Subscribe. Damn it. Smash that like button. Otherwise, you can find the audio version of this at your favorite podcatcher of choice. So, on behalf of Gaming NBS, I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night and good game and all.
This episode of Gaming NBS produced with help from the following BSers: Jared Rasher, Ray Otis, Old School DM, Jason Hobbs, Andy Hall, Roger Braslett, Chris Steele, Larry Hout, Eric Frankhouse, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Mark Tasaka, Pure Mongrel, CW Mellencamp, Dan LaValle, Craig Huber, Ron Bishop, Old Scoozer Roleplaying, Jim Fitzpatrick, Mark Richmond, Sky, Craig, Howard Bishop, Jeff Seifert, Angus, Eric Salzweedle, George Sedgwick, Robert Nemeth, Brian Kurtz, Laramie Wall, Perry Basor, Eric Avia, Andy Olson, John Kayward, Corey Gonzalez, Niall Diamond, Jeff Goad, Brian Rumble, David F. Baylog, Harrigan, Melissa Bashinsky, Henry Newcomb, Colcago, Eric Tavola, Hoos Carl, Ghost GM, Mike Hess Jr., Rory Weston, Jim Ingram, Daniel Garrett, Jason Weeb, Dollar Adventure Frameworks, Phil McClory, Jay Plata, The Duke and Purple, Isaiah Aries Christian, Vanta Blacklord, Larry Hollis, Quigley Malcolm, AWOL Trooper, Craig Shipman, Todd Sharp, Orcus Dorcas, Chris Shorb, Michael O'Holland, Wayne Peacock, Mike Coleman, Tendrils, Miniature Master, Kevin Keneally, Christopher Lang, Chad Glayman, Josh Wallace, Adam Grote, John, Ed Nyes, Stefan Dragonspawn, Corey Welch, Mirko Froelich, Rich Wishan, Joe Swick, Curtis Takahashi, and Aaron Railia. Have you ventured in the streets of Avalon? It's an urban fantasy campaign setting done by our own Brett Blazinski. Check it out at DriveThruRPG or ask your favorite local game store to order it and print for you. We'll have a link in the show notes. Thanks, BSers!
This has been a Litterbox Studio production.